Apparently Bestech now has a budget brand. Yeah, it's called Bestechman, and today I'm going to show you their new knife, which just came out. It's going to be a crossbar lock, so their version of the Axis. This is the BMK02. All right, up on the screen are going to be some specs. They're all measurements I went ahead and took myself, but don't worry, I'll also have them listed for you down in the description. All right, here's a couple quick comparisons just so you can get an idea of the true size of knife we're working with today. So as you can see, it's about the same size as the PM2, but it's a little bit smaller than the Rat 1. Now, whenever I review a knife, I always like to try and find something in my collection that looks kind of similar, but, I'm having a hard time finding one. I mean, the closest thing that I could come up with here is the Benchmade Freak. Yeah, I know it's a stretch, but you know what? It is like the closest thing that I could think of. If you can come up with something that's maybe a better match, hey, just let me know down in the comments. All right, I'm going to start with what I like most about this knife, and that is the blade. I just love this 3.26-inch flat ground black stonewash drop point in, yeah, you guessed it, 14Z28N sandvik steel. Yeah, the new D2. I mean, by now you should be pretty familiar with this steel. I mean, everyone seems to be using it nowadays because of its excellent toughness and corrosion resistance. And man, did they do a nice job on this factory edge. Look at it. I mean, it is just so nice and even on both sides. Now, it is a little bit thicker than usual at about 3.5 millimeters, and it tapers down to a very thin tip. At the widest section of the blade, it's about 1.14 inches across, which is important because, without a flipper tab, you're able to use almost all of that sharpened edge, when you're cutting on something like a flat surface. I don't know for sure if this was intentional, but there is just enough room to go ahead and choke up and, use this area as a forward finger choil. And not that you really need to. I mean, since the handle is about 4.65 inches long, which is more than enough room for my medium-sized hand. Now, in total, there's about 10 different versions available. I got the one with the, it's got like the natural or jade G10 scales, which are, as you can see, nice and contoured. And it really does, man, that really does fill my hand nicely. Now, if you're looking for a slim pocket carry, this is definitely not that, but at about 5.8 inches thick, yeah, this handle is just, man, it is ridiculously comfortable. I mean, it almost feels like it was made specifically for me. And we have to talk about this crossbar lock because they did such a nice job on, well, their version of the Axis. I haven't taken this thing apart yet, but I am like picturing some pretty thick Omega springs inside. And that's just because of the amount of pressure that's needed, to be able to move that lock bar. Now, I've tried it, but I'm having a tough time like operating the lock just using my thumb. Like I have to use my index finger at the same time. So I have to pull down on it on both sides. Otherwise, it's, difficult to move. And now that I think about it, I guess that's kind of a good thing because, if I had to choose, I would rather have springs that were too strong since I know that I'll eventually be able to break them in. You can totally see and hear that spring strength, when I close the blade. You see how it just kind of sucks it in? So there is like going to be no way that you'll ever be able to shake this blade loose. I must admit, I was a little bit worried that the action might be affected, because of how strong the springs are and that I'd have to use a little bit of wrist to open the blade. But that is totally not the case here. I push on the thumb stud and that blade just flies open with authority. So then I pull back on the crossbar lock. Oh, and she drops right shut. Of course, it has a ball bearing pivot inside, and you can see just how smooth it is, when holding the lock open because, yeah, how freely that blade just wants to dangle. And the centering on my example is just about perfect. and there is like zero, I mean zero blade play in any direction, up, down, side to side, nothing. She is solid. I really like the look and the function of this deep carry pocket clip. I mean, it has, you know, just the right amount. Oh yeah, just the right amount of tension. Unfortunately, it has only just the one, just the one position. So no lefty love today. And it's kind of a shame because if it wasn't for that, I mean, this knife would be completely ambidextrous. Hey, at least the clip is recessed. You can see into the G10, and they did go ahead and use flat screws so it won't get hung up on the seamier pocket. And then both liners are in fact skeletonized in an effort to keep that weight down to about 4.3 ounces, which, you know, that's not too bad. I mean, just imagine if they did not remove any material. I mean, this thing would have been close to, if not even over, maybe 5 ounces. And that's kind of pushing it for a knife this size, you know, with these materials. Considering this is just like their second release, I mean, the overall fit and finish is really good. I would put it at around like the same level of quality as maybe like a Harns knife. If you have dexterity or like finger strength issues, you know, this lock might be kind of difficult for you to use. You could kind of accelerate that break-in process of the springs, you know, just by opening the blade like I have here about a quarter of the way, and then, you know, you just let it sit like this for a couple of days. You know, if you're tired of like D2 liner locks and you're just kind of looking for something a little bit different, you know, with a tougher blade steel and a lock that can handle harder use, yeah, why not give the BMK02 a shot? As of right now, this is initially being sold on Shopify for like around $52. And I guess that this will eventually be available on Amazon. So, you know, that's really not too bad of a deal for a crossbar lock with a really, really good budget steel. Right about now, there's going to be a video up on the screen that I personally picked out for you to go ahead and watch next. And hey, if you haven't already, consider subscribing if you're looking for knife reviews that get right to the point. All right, I got to run, but hey, thank you so much for watching. I love you guys, and I'll see you at the next video. Take care.